Okay, so continuing our coverage over Darkseid War, we actually pick up with Batman and Green Lantern on another Earth in an alternate universe, or another universe in DC's multiverse. Now remember, the reason why these two heroes have left the main DC universe to come over to this universe is to hopefully figure out the origin of the Anti-Monitor. Now when it comes to Batman, he took Green Lantern over to the Crime Syndicate universe. Now remember, the Crime Syndicate were basically the evil versions of the Justice League. Now with that being said, they left their Earth because some being, we were told that, some powerful being was wreaking havoc on their Earth, and they had no choice but to come over to the main DC universe. And this is where we kind of find out that powerful being that was getting rid of their universe was, of course, the Anti-Monitor. And so this is Batman and also Green Lantern hoping that this universe will give them the answers of who is the Anti-Monitor and how to stop him. But back in the main DC universe, well, the war has begun between the Anti-Monitor and Darkseid. Now remember, we have not been told yet what the Anti-Monitor wants from Darkseid. All we know currently is that, well, the Anti-Monitor wants to kill off Darkseid, and that's really it. But on top of that, Grail, the daughter of Darkseid, and also an Amazon known as Marina Black, is also trying to kill off Darkseid. But again, we have no idea why she wants to kill off Darkseid either. Either way, is Darkseid technically on his own with his army of people from Apocalypse? Now yes, he does have his son Calibac, but at the same time though, Grail and the Anti-Monitor are really a powerful threat. Now, when it comes to our heroes, the Justice League, currently, they're just on the sideline, trying to figure out how in the world are they going to stop this war before billions of humans are dead across the Earth. Now, we have to jump back over to Lex Luthor and also Superman. And remember, these two characters were sent over to Apocalypse thanks to Lex Luthor's eviler sister. Is that even a word, eviler? Either way, his more evil sister sent him and Superman over to Apocalypse. Now when they arrived, Clark Kent of course lost his abilities because there's no yellow sun near Apocalypse. But Lex thought, hey, you know what? Let me go ahead and drop Superman into a fiery pit, and that should be able to charge him up, so he'll have his powers back. Yeah, that was a dumb idea, because then you have homeboy Clark Kent come out all mad and evil, because in those fiery pits is energy of Apocalypse. That energy just made a corrupt Superman, who's now currently thinking about killing off, well, Lex Luthor. Now, we have to kind of jump back over to Earth real quickly because I want to talk about Jessica Cruz, the latest Green Lantern at this point in DC Comics. When it comes to Jessica, remember, by this point she had huge anxiety. You're kind of like, wait, doesn't she need willpower to overcome fear? Yeah, you're right. And so when it comes to her Green Lantern ring, it does not come from this Earth except another Earth. And of course that Earth would be the Crime Syndicate Earth. She got her ring from Power Ring. Now inside her ring holds the spirit of Valthoom. That's a whole other character I am not trying to get into in this video. Now, when it comes to her ring, of course, Valthoom is talking to her and basically talking down to her. And so it's kind of like him being a total jerk, but at the same time, it's her kind of overcoming her anxiety. Now, with that being said, but then we have to jump over to Darkseid, and the reason why, because Darkseid is getting his butt whooped. And this man's all like, I'm not gonna die here, y'all gonna die here. And so that is the moment he brings up the Black Racer. And the Black Racer is just another version of Death, one of the many different avatars of Death. Either way, when it comes to the Black Racer, he usually goes after gods, the new gods. And this is him trying to use the Black Racer as a way to kill off the Anti-Monitor. Now we jump over to Batman and Green Lantern for a very good reason, because this is going to begin the process of us learning the origin of the Anti-Monitor. Now, with that being said, when it comes to Batman and Green Lantern, they arrived in another universe, this one being the Antimatter universe. And the reason why, because the Anti-Monitor stayed here for a good while. Now, while he was here, he also created the Morbius chair. Now, the chair is very important because Batman is currently sitting in that chair. And the thing is, whoever sits in that chair gains all the knowledge the chair already has stored. Now, with that being said, when it comes to Batman, he's hoping to learn more about the Anti-Monitor. And so he learned the chair he's currently using was created by, well, Anti-Monitor. Matter of fact, it's named after him because the Anti-Monitor's real name is Morbius. Now, all that being said, when it came to Morbius, he still stayed in the Antimatter universe. He wanted to learn how this universe was actually created, how there is no free will. And so at the core of this universe, he found the anti-life equation. And matter of fact, it's merged with his body. Now, when it comes to the anti-life equation, it is something Darkseid always wanted. The reason why? Because if you are able to use the anti-life equation, you can break anybody's free will. But also, it's a very huge power to have in your grasp. But apparently, when it comes to the Anti-Monitor, because he was in the Antimatter universe for so long, he discovered the anti-life equation, but unfortunately it fused with his body. And so he's hoping to, it seems to be, to find a way to remove it from his body. Now, we jump back over to Earth for a very good reason why, the Anti-Monitor. This is the moment where he kills off Darkseid, very huge right off the back. The bat. Either way though, when it comes to the Anti-Monitor, he grabs Flash. The reason why? He feels like the Black Racer, the avatar for death of the New Gods, needs a host. And so he grabs the Black Racer and combines the Black Racer with the Flash, which now means Flash is technically the god of death for the New Gods. Either way, you didn't have Anti-Monitor tell Darkseid that he has something that Darkseid always wanted. The anti-life equation is part of his body. And matter of fact, he is able to use the anti-life equation as a way to defeat Darkseid. But also because the Black Racer is there, and usually when he's there, that means somebody's gonna die. And this time, it was Darkseid. And so at the end of the first chapter of this video, we see Darkseid just laying there dead, literally. And so as we jump into the next chapter, we pick up with our heroes realizing that Darkseid is dead. Darkseid is gone. He's no longer around. As a matter of fact, with his death is felt across the entire DC multiverse, even outside the multiverse. Because remember, when it comes to Apocalypse and New Genesis, those two worlds right there, they're the outside of the DC's multiverse. And with that being said, when Darkseid died, with Superman, who's on Apocalypse, he also knows that Darkseid is dead. But on top of that as well, you have our heroes wondering, why did the Anti-Monitor just leave right after killing Darkseid? You would think that if you kill some powerful being off, you would gloat about it, be very happy about it, and say some few words to the dead body of the person you just killed. But instead, they left. Now, when it comes to Flash, he's freaking out because now he's the Black Racer technically. He's the god of death for the New Gods. He's wondering, did I kill off Darkseid? And technically, yes, but in reality, he's being controlled by, well, the Black Racer. And so you have Flash say, you know what? I want to control death. And this leads into Flash becoming the god of death. Now, we do jump over to Batman, and when we do, this is the section where we could technically say Batman is now the god of knowledge, which actually, we could have said that in the earlier parts of the series. Either way, you have Batman saying that he is going to keep the Morbius chair, because remember, the Morbius chair knows almost everything about DC's multiverse. With that being said, it's feeding all that information over to Batman. And so Batman feels like he's now the hero who is actually capable of protecting Gotham completely. And so his goal is to just use the chair as a way to protect Gotham. Now, he does tell Green Lantern to go back to Oa, and the reason why? The parademons. The parademons were controlled by Darkseid. Well, Darkseid is dead now, and those parademons are going to the brightest light in the universe, the most powerful area in the universe, and that would be Oa, the home of the Green Lanterns. And so you have Batman tell Hal, you better go, man, because right now, your base for the Green Lanterns is about to be attacked by the parademons. Now, we do jump back over to Superman and Lex Luthor, and when we do, we see our two characters currently still on Apokolips. Now, with that being said, this is the section where you could say that Superman is the god of strength, and the reason why, because currently he is corrupted by Apokolips energy, and currently he's trying to kill off Lex Luthor. Now, the reason why he wants to kill off Lex Luthor is really more of Clark expressing how much he hates Lex Luthor. And what I mean by that is, by this point in the New 52, Lex Luthor was part of the Justice League. But on top of that, Lex was trying his best to prove that he was better than Clark. But on top of that, it was kind of Lex taking over the league, trying to remove Clark. As a matter of fact, we saw that in the Truth era. As soon as Clark got depowered, Lex felt like Superman could no longer be part of the Justice League. Either way, you have Clark just beat down on Lex. Now, Clark does not kill off Lex, but he does tell Lex if he ever sees Lex again, oh yeah, he'll most likely kill him off. But getting back over to Lex Luthor, we kind of find out that he is still alive and okay, barely, but he is found by someone known as Ardora. Now, Ardora is the leader of the Forgotten People, and here's the thing, because apparently these people on Apokolips have been waiting for their savior, and the reason why, because the blind prophet has written that a human would walk through the ashes of Apokolips and everything would change. Now, here is the big thing though, because what this blind prophet said, the great hero comes from a place called Metropolis. He has saved his world many times. This man will bring the same hope he spread on his world to ours. He is our orphan, a humble son of farmers, seeker of truth, embodiment of justice. And so when they find Lex, they're wondering if Lex is this person. In reality, they're talking about Superman, but Clark is currently evil right now and running around Apokolips. And so currently the only human from Earth, from Metropolis at least, is Lex Luthor. And so you have Lex lie to these folks and say, yes, I am the man that you have been looking for. And they're all like, okay, if you say so, we are going to put you to the test. Now, getting back over very quickly to Flash, you have Flash kind of show us that the Black Racer, the actual being, is trying to take control over Flash's body. With that being said, it's right now the Black Racer telling Flash they got work to do. They are the god of death. And the thing is Flash trying to get back control of his body. And so he just leaves as a way to hopefully fight against the Black Racer in control of his body. Now, before our heroes are able to go after Flash, well, they realize something weird is happening to Shazam. And the thing is right now, he begins to hear all these different kinds of voices. Now, when it comes to these voices, they are talking about the idea of giving him powers. And it seems like there are different gods out there who are giving Shazam more powers than he already have. And then we see that he's now called the God of Gods. And that right there is a very powerful title to have. Either way, Shazam just flies away. And so you have Diana say, okay, you know what? Half the heroes have to go and chase after Flash, while the rest of us go chase after Shazam. The problem is though, they are confronted by Kalibak and other members of Darkseid army, because not everybody left once the war was over. Some still stayed behind. And so currently you have Kalibak say that, you know what? Because my father is gone, I still want to go ahead and attack people, and you're right now in front of me. So I feel like this is the perfect time to go ahead and release my anger on somebody, which is you, Diana, and the rest of the members of the League. Now, getting back over to Grail and also Marina Black, Grail's mother, you have Marina wondering what happened to the Anti-Monitor, because right after he had killed off Darkseid, well, he began to be swallowed up in some kind of yellow bubble. And apparently to Grail, he is changing. He's now becoming Morbius. Now that was the name of the Anti-Monitor before he became the Anti-Monitor. But apparently right now, what she's telling us is that he is going to change back into his regular form, or possibly a different kind of form. But getting back over to Lex Luthor, who also becomes a god as well, you have Lex Luthor wake up. When he does wake up, we kind of find out Adora and the Forgotten People are about to test Lex Luthor in the most craziest kind of way. What I mean by that is, because Darkseid has died, his Omega effect is technically loose right now. It has to be tamed. It's coming back over to Apocalypse to find a new host. And so with that being said, what they're trying to do is make Lex Luthor the host of the Omega effect. And so they have all these different kinds of tubes feeding into Lex Luthor's body as a way to say, you are going to be the one to absorb the Omega effect that has been let loose by Darkseid because of his death. And so they begin the process. And at the end of the second chapter, well, you have Lex Luthor become a god. He becomes the god of Apocalypse. And so as we dive into the final chapter for today's video, we kind of get a quick rundown on which god is each hero going to be. So for example, Batman is god of knowledge, Superman, god of strength, Flash, god of death, Shazam, god of gods, which is still kind of powerful, Green Lantern, god of light, and then Lex Luthor, god of apocalypse. And so getting back over to our heroes who are still currently on Earth, they're fighting against the forces of Darkseid. Now, when I say the forces of Darkseid, I don't really mean like the parademons, because remember, they left Earth and they're heading over to Oa. And so currently right now, the only ones who are left is Calabac and some other characters who are really not that important for the story arc. Either way though, currently they're fighting against our heroes. Now the thing is, our heroes are still having a hard time fighting against these characters. And the reason why, because it's only Wonder Woman and Jessica Cruz Green Lantern. Now these are two good powerful characters, but that's really it against three powerful characters of Darkseid. Now with that being said though, they also have Steve Trevor. That's really it. They have Steve Trevor. Not that helpful. You also have Cyborg as well, which is somewhat helpful. Either way, our heroes are struggling. Now, luckily for them, they also have Mr. Miracle, but again, our heroes are still struggling. Except that is the moment you also have Big Barda appear. Now remember, Big Barda used to work for Darkseid, one of his Furies, one of his assassins. The thing was though, she broke away and realized that Darkseid is a total you-know-what. And so she kind of been on the run with Mr. Miracle because they are a married couple. But she is a great fighter. And so when she does appear, Homegirl beats down on every single member of Darkseid's army very quickly. And it's kind of like, okay. And so after she beats every single one of them, they're all like, okay, we gotta leave, but don't worry, we'll come back, but first, we have to find the Anti-Monitor. We did briefly jump over to Grail and also Marina Black. Now, when we do, it is the two characters currently wondering why these shadow creatures are attacking them, because these shadow creatures are protecting the Anti-Monitor as he changes. Now again, we have no idea what he's going to change into, but apparently these shadow creatures are trying to protect their master and attacking Grail and Marina. But to Marina is more of why are they being attacked, because they were technically allies for the Anti-Monitor. But Grail says, just have patience, mother, just have patience. He is changing. He's becoming something great. But then we jump over to our heroes back on Earth, the ones who are still technically good, so like Diana, Steve, Cyborg, and Jessica, and Big Barda, and Mr. Miracle. The thing is, our heroes are currently wondering what to do next. Now, when it comes to our heroes, they're trying to get a hold of Batman and Green Lantern, because those two characters left to hopefully learn more about the Anti-Monitor. They went over to the Crime Syndicate universe. The problem is though, when our heroes try to contact those two, there's no answer. Right now, Batman has gone back to Gotham to be a great hero. And when it comes to Green Lantern, he's on his way back over to Oa to help protect it from the parademons. And so currently, that only leaves these heroes right here. The other heroes like Flash, Superman, Lex Luthor, and Shazam, they have become gods in dealing with their own problems. And so when it comes to our heroes, they're like, okay, we still want to learn more about the Anti-Monitor. As a matter of fact, the only two people who may know anything about the Anti-Monitor are the ones from the Crime Syndicate universe. And the only two left is Ultraman and Superwoman. They're the only two left, but unfortunately, they're being held in Belle Reve, one of the toughest prisons in the entire world. And they're in the toughest area of that prison. And so that's when you have Cyborg, Green Lantern, Mr. Miracle, and Big Barda say they'll go and pay a visit over to Superwoman and Ultraman to hopefully learn more about the Anti-Monitor. And when it comes to Mr. Miracle, this man is able to break into any kind of prison if he wants to. He is able to break into any locks. And so for him, this is just a Tuesday into breaking into another tough prison. Now that leaves Diana and Steve Trevor behind. Now when it comes to Steve Trevor, he feels like this is the right moment to confess his love to Diana. What I mean by that is, in the New 52, Steve Trevor and Diana, they did date briefly. And the reason I say briefly because she quickly dumped him for Superman. Now with that being said, they were the power couple, but ever since then, you have Steve be the jealous ex-boyfriend. Now here's the thing about Darkseid War. Darkseid War takes place after Superman Truth and also Jim Gordon Batman. The reason why I'm saying that because when it came to this particular story arc, it was coming out at the same time as the other two story arcs. But of course, it got placed after those two. But in Superman Truth, Clark Kent dumped Diana. They're no longer a couple. And so this is Steve feels like he has the right to go ahead and confess his love to Diana, to hopefully be with her once again. And so while you had this guy confessing his love, you have Superman appear, very angry with the idea that Steve is trying to get with Diana, because it shows that Superman still loves Diana. But also because he's corrupted, this man is down with the idea of killing off Steve to just keep the love of Diana to himself. But see, while you have our heroes facing their different difficulties or their different obstacles, we come to find out that with the Anti-Monitor, he is changing alright. He's basically getting rid of the anti-life equation. And so without the anti-life equation, now Grail is able to actually grasp the anti-life equation. Now here comes the problem with that, because originally we were told that Grail wanted to kill off Darkseid, and that was it. Now we're kind of told that the reason why her mother wanted to use her, Grail, as a weapon to kill off Darkseid because he is pure evil. And so Grail was kind of down with that idea, except it seems like Grail has a different plan. And what I mean by that is she now holds the anti-life equation, and she says that Darkseid is too good for death, which means that when it comes to Grail, she might try to bring back Darkseid, but to also give Darkseid the one thing he always wanted, which is the anti-life equation. Or she might keep the equation to herself and become Grail, the goddess of anti-life. But this is where we are going to end today's comic book video. So please leave me a like down below and subscribe. But guys, see y'all next time. Later.